Thread from Brian Cates at Draw and Strike. SpyGate alert. Game over. Strzok is sending the original 302 from the Flynn interview to Lisa Page, who has no business seeing it, and the text they exchanged made it clear exculpatory statements were removed. Remember when Page first claimed to the Office of the Inspector General Investigators she never, ever helped edit a 302 form, and she changed her story after they showed her the texts to Strzok? And even when confronted with the text messages, she insisted the editing of the 302 form she'd done had only consisted of grammar and spelling corrections. She was lying, of course. The documentary evidence about the fact Page and Strzok had edited this original 302 that came out over a year ago. It was in an earlier OIG report. OIG investigators confronting Page with her own text messages when she denied having done any editing. But the actual texts where they discuss the nature of the edits they made, well, those texts are only being released now. That means Durham finished that part of his investigation and is putting this out now because it won't compromise the cases he is building against Strzok and Page. Remember Harvey Weinstein? He got convicted. How many times did you hear people confidently assure you that that was never going to happen? These people are going to be convicted too. The case against them is going to be completely and totally overwhelming. We're only getting a preview of some of the evidence the DOJ has when it's safe for them to show it to us. SpyGate researchers like me and many others who dug into this from the start, we already have a firm grasp of what they did. We got the basic outlines of the coup plot years ago. What we've been waiting for is the DOJ investigations to reach the point that they can release evidence. And now they're at that point, just now, here at the beginning of May 2020, where they can show us the actual text messages where Strzok and Page discuss how they're changing the original Flynn 302 interview form to remove exculpatory statements from it. Isn't that awesome? They're preparing the ground for releasing the original 302. I'm positive Horowitz found it and Durham has it. When comparisons are made between the original and the edited version of the 302 form, nobody will be able to hide what happened here. Also remember this, both agents present at the interview write their own notes and make their own 302, not just Strzok. The other guy who was there also made a 302 form. Did he ever edit his like Strzok and Page edited Strzok's 302? He had his own separate notes. We're going to be hearing from FBI Special Agent Joseph Pientka eventually, and what his 302 form says and what he has to say about the Flynn case and the Carter Page FISA shenanigans. It's really going to be fascinating to hear. But for right now, the release of material evidence consisting of text messages exchanged between Strzok and Page discussing material edits of Strzok's 302 form to remove exculpatory statements is a big development. This is exactly like the Halper revelation the other day. I knew for over 2 years that that fat toad was the anonymous source for the Flynn Lokova smear. All the circumstantial evidence pointed to him. But I had no direct evidence, so there were things I wasn't allowed to publish. And then just the other day, boom. After a 2-year wait, finally, direct documentary evidence was unsealed by the DOJ showing Halper telling the Flynn Lokova smear to the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane team. Understand, suspecting or knowing what they did isn't the same as proving with evidence that would stand up in a courtroom what they did. The difference between the two is as wide as the world. We all knew what they did by mid 2018. But people can't grasp knowing and proving are not the same thing. They aren't. And you can huff and you can puff and you can blow at me all you want to that they are. It doesn't change that it's not. That's why I wrote this column recently for Epoch. Durham's new SpyGate arena. The courtroom. In the courtroom arena, nobody gets to do any dot connecting, speculating, or theorizing. They have to have the evidence to back up every single thing they claim, or they can lose the case. So we knew Strzok and Page had altered the original 302 form and changed it to support a false statement charge against General Flynn. And just under a year ago, we got documentary evidence in court filings in the Flynn case where Page insists she didn't make any edits to any 302 and then when confronted with her text messages insists she only did slight grammar changes and spell corrections, no material edits. So I knew eventually direct evidence was going to surface showing what kind of edits Strzok and Page made to that original 302. And now it's happened. Powell is showing text messages where the two FBI officials are discussing material edits to the 302. As Peter Svab relates in this story, agents are supposed to memorialize their interviews in an FD 302 form within 5 days. But the earliest 302 draft Flynn was provided was dated February 10th, 2017. That's 2 full weeks after the interview. The new text messages suggest that an earlier version of the draft existed, either produced on February 10th or earlier. From McCabe. Lisa, you didn't see it before my edits that went into what I sent you, Strzok texted after 10 p.m. on February 10th, 2017 to Lisa Page, his mistress and then special counsel to FBI's then Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. Strzok said he was trying to not completely rewrite the document so as to save Redacted's voice. Now, read this part carefully. Who could the eyewitness be who can attest to what the original 302 actually said and comment on how Strzok and Page changed it? On January 16th, Powell disclosed that she has a witness who could attest to what was in the original draft. Here's what she says to Larry O'Connor. I've now found a witness who says the original 302 did in fact say that Flynn was honest with the agents and did not lie. So for somebody to delete that from the 302 is just beyond outrageous. She told the Epoch Times the witness saw the document. It has to be 1. Someone inside the FBI at the time these edits were made. 2. It has to be someone in a position to see the original 302 form after they were made. And 3. It has to be someone Strzok trusted at the time. That's not a lot of people, is it? Yes, I'm getting a real vibe that we're going to be hearing from Mr. Invisible Man himself soon. He was there, you know, right in the middle of all this, present at the creation, so to speak. Can't wait to meet him.